Okay, here we go on chapter 6. This will equate to the 6th week. And so we have 2 more weeks left in this semester before the midterm. This is an interesting chapter that we're looking at. Somatic symptoms, somatic disorders, really meaning the body and illnesses that's connected with some type of psychological process. That's basically what we're looking at here. Now, these illnesses in this entire chapter is related very closely to anxiety disorders, which we study. Hopefully, you have time to go through the different disorders that we have studied. Go to the video library. Basically, all of the disorders that we've been studying and mental illnesses that we've been studying is in the video library. Right, somatic symptoms and related disorders. Now, we're going to talk about some disorders, just visit with you and give a little direction to them. And then we're going to talk about dissociation. And the reason that I say it that way is because there's a difference between dissociation and dissociation. We're going to be looking at that too, because dissociation is connected with some disorders. All right, the DSM-5 changed the term of hypochondriac to an individual with illness anxiety disorder. That's one area we want to remember. No one is going to tar and feather anyone or drive anyone out of town if they do use the term hypochondriac, and I believe it will probably be used for quite some time. But the DSM-5 thought and felt as though, and when I say the DSM-5, I'm talking about the authors of the DSM-5, felt as though that illness, anxiety disorder would be a better fit than what they have. And of course, we have to be very honest about this. People change just for the sake of change. Really nothing behind it, but they want to change. I don't know whether it makes it any better or any worse, but at least it makes it different. Now, if we go back, soma meaning body, and if we go back in history, again, a number of years ago to the Greeks, possibly even to the Egyptians, we find that the term hysterical neurosis can be traced back this far. And basically what it means is the wandering uterus. And this is what Hippocrates stated would cause hysteria in women acting a little bit differently, women acting a little bit abnormally. And the reason for this is the uterus was going in the body looking for a child. Now, of course, I'm not asking you to accept all of this, but these individuals did have a basis for some of their reasoning and for some of their beliefs. I actually believe that 50 years from now, the scientific community and the psychological community is going to look back and say, hey, you know what people thought back in 2013, 14, 15, and 16? I think that is so strange. It's merely a sign of progress that's taking place. And looking at this, then, we have a conversion disorder. And a conversion disorder is merely taking some psychological process, some aspect that goes on in the mind, and conversion, it to a physical symptom. Might take the example of an individual who is in battle, who in one of the wars used to pulling a trigger and shooting someone, or at least shooting at someone, and after a while, his mind is working on what he's actually doing, at least shooting at someone. I don't know whether he hits them or not, but shooting at someone. And so one of the logical things as far as his body and his mind consider doing is, hey, we'll just stop the finger from pulling the trigger. So here we have a conversion disorder that is translated over into a actual physical incapacity type activity. And we have a lot of people, we have a lot of individuals that are not really happy with their bodies. We have a lot of individuals that have to be ill for some reason or the other. And I know I've visited with individuals that regardless of what is done, there's some type of illness. I feel sick here, I feel sick there, I got to run to the doctor here. And then they start to doctor shop. There's something wrong with them. Well, we talked about the conversion disorders. Now we have a couple of other aspects put in here. One is malingering. And basically what malingering is having some type of physical disorder, whether it's an upset tummy or an ingrown toenail, whatever it is. And they're somewhat psychologically faking this. Maybe we could say it's real psychologically, but it is not physically. You know, we can get tied up in these types of things. But anyway, they fake this type of illness for some type of financial gain. We have the fictitious disorder. And this basically, the individual acts ill even though there is nothing wrong. Now, having said that, many times these illnesses that they have will be accompanied by a personality disorder. And if we remember, if we have two types of concerns like this and they're taking place simultaneously within an individual, we call that comorbid. It's a term you want to remember, comorbid. So here we would have some type of somatic disorder. It could be a conversion disorder, malingering, fictitious, whatever it is. And they could also have a personality disorder, making two disorders. So then we have what is called comorbid or comorbidity. Now, an individual that's kind of interesting here, I think it's called Munchausen syndrome. And we have Munchausen syndrome by proxy. We're going to visit about both of these. Munchausen supposedly was an individual that was crossing a creek, and while he was crossing the creek, he sunk into the mud up to his knees. He couldn't get out. Well, Munchausen had long hair. So what Munchausen did, he reached back of his head and he gave his hair a yank and he lifted himself out of the mud. Now, I know you're not going to believe that, but that's okay. Anyway, he was able to control his own actions. Well, Munchausen syndrome then, individuals will fake some type of illness so they can go to the doctor, go to the hospital, go to the ER. Now, Munchausen by proxy is making someone else ill, usually a mother making a child ill, so the child has to go to the hospital because the mother likes the hospital in the cleanliness type setting. I know one mother, and we have examples of this, but I know of one mother that would inject her youngster with fetal material in order to raise the infant's temperature, and so the individual could go ahead and go to the hospital then. Now, the treatment for many of these disorders is just to confront the individual. And confronting the individual is a cognitive type of therapy where you confront the individual and you have them think about what is going on. I have just a little bit of time. I believe I'm going to go ahead and put the next section on another video for now. And so, because I may run out of time in explaining the other part. So I'm going to go ahead, and this will be video A for this chapter, and I'll go ahead and make video B. So until you see me on B, this will conclude chapter 6A.